You don't build muscle in the gym. You destroy it there. The actual growth happens later, while you're asleep, while you're scrolling, while you're doing absolutely nothing that looks like progress. And the wild part is that the moment most people think the work is over is exactly when the real work begins, and almost nobody shows up for it. Here's what's actually happening when you train. Your brain fires a signal, motor neurons light up, and your fibers contract. Heavy enough load, and your body calls in the big units, the ones with actual growth potential, like waking up the reserve squad. What most people don't know is what happens next. When a fiber is under load, especially while it's stretching, it physically deforms, like squeezing a wet sponge until it bulges sideways. That deformation trips a molecular switch called mTOR, and mTOR is less a foreman and more a slightly unhinged contractor who shows up uninvited and starts ordering materials the second he feels tension. More protein gets laid down. Fiber gets bigger. That's hypertrophy. A 2025 review out of McMaster University, one of the top sports science programs on the planet, confirmed something that should annoy anyone who's been chasing soreness for years. Your muscle doesn't need to be damaged to grow. It just needs to be loaded. Tension builds. Damage just cleans up the mess afterward. Speaking of that mess, that soreness you've been wearing like a medal, that's inflammation, your body's janitorial crew showing up to mop the floor, not the construction crew building the extension. Marathon runners are wrecked for a week straight after a race and come back with the exact same legs they left with. So if soreness equaled growth, marathoners would have quads like tree trunks. They don't. But here's where it gets genuinely annoying for anyone training once a week. Muscle protein synthesis, the actual building phase, peaks around 24 hours after your session. By 48 hours, it's flatlined. Done. Lights off, crew gone, site locked. So if you hit back day Monday and don't touch it again until next Monday, your muscle was actively growing for 2 days and then sat there idle for 5, like a gym membership you forgot you were paying for. Train each muscle twice a week and you don't just get a bonus session, you double your total construction time for the week. And there's one part of every rep almost everyone treats like an afterthought, the lowering phase. Your muscles can handle roughly 40% more force on the way down than on the way up, which means the descent of a pull-up or the bottom of a dip is where tension actually peaks, where mTOR gets hit hardest. Most people blast through it like it's the walk back to the start line, drop fast, yank up, count the rep, done. But the part of the rep your muscle cared about most is the part you rushed. Slow the lowering to 3 seconds, and that single change does more for growth than an extra set ever will. Now for the part that quietly destroys more gains than bad programming ever could, sleep. One bad night, just one, drops muscle protein synthesis by 18%. A single week of 5 hours a night tanks your testosterone by 10 to 15%, which is roughly the same hormonal hit as aging 10 years in 7 days. There was a study where 2 groups ate identical diets in an identical calorie deficit, same food, same numbers, and the only difference was sleep. The group sleeping less lost 60% more muscle and 55% less fat. Same meals, completely different bodies. Sleep is half the recovery equation and protein is the other half, and most people are guessing here too. mTOR just gave the green light to build, but if the materials don't show up, nothing gets constructed. You basically hired the contractor and forgot to order the lumber. Studies show people underestimate their food intake by up to 50%, so you might think you're eating 2,000 calories and actually be closer to 3,000, or think you're crushing your protein goal while quietly missing it every day. Benefits of getting all this dialed in: faster recovery, more usable growth per week, and workouts that finally count for something instead of just feeling brutal. Risks of ignoring it: you can train like it's your job for months and still look the same, because the conditions for growth never actually existed. Fun fact, your muscles are usually finished building by hour 48, which means they're often done growing before your soreness even peaks on day 2 or 3. Pro tip: 3-second eccentrics on every set, 7 hours of sleep treated as non-negotiable training, and progressive overload that actually progresses. Harder variations, slower tempo, added load, because doing the same workout forever isn't progressive overload, it's just expensive maintenance. So next time you crawl out of the gym feeling demolished, relax, that part's already done. The next 48 hours are the real workout, and most people spend them sleeping badly, eyeballing their protein, and waiting to feel less sore before they train again. Your muscles don't grow because they hurt. They grow because you loaded them, fed them, and got out of the way. Drop a comment with your worst recovery habit, because half of you reading this are about to recognize yourselves, and stick around because next time we're breaking down exactly how many sets and days it actually takes to grow each muscle group.